Welcome to the Manatech Tool of the Month program. Thank you for listening to this audio and thereby investing in yourself and your Manatech business. We hope you find the information on this audio beneficial and rewarding.
So with this in mind, it is my privilege to talk with all of you this evening about one of Manatech's products called GI ProBalance. GI ProBalance is one of our relatively newer products in inventory, and certainly one of our most important products in our inventory. I think you'll understand by the end of this call how important it is. And there are some areas of confusion and, of course, misunderstanding, as there very often is in nutritional products. And I'm going to do tonight's call in kind of a sort of a Q&A sort of format, or an FAQ kind of format, a little bit different than I normally do, simply because this is one of those products that just has questions that need to be accurately answered so that you can be properly armed with accurate information and really help the health of people all over the planet, not just in your own respective countries, because I know that we have people from many countries listening on the call this evening, but all over this planet. You're going to see why this product is very, very important and should be part of everyone's daily health program. So sort of an overview of GI ProBalance for you. Well, what is it? It's a probiotic product, but it's a lot more than that. It's also what's known as a synbiotic. Synbiotic, that's not to be confused with the word symbiotic. So syn, S-Y-N, B-I-O-T-I-C, synbiotic. And a synbiotic is a product that contains a balance of probiotic bacteria and prebiotics. And prebiotics are the foods that feed the probiotics. I'll give you more detail in a moment. In this product, there's also some vitamin C, and it's sweetened with xylitol, so it is delicious. And by the way, folks, I get asked all the time, what do I take, what do I do? Obviously, I do use this product, but I just want to let you know that xylitol is the only sweetener that I use. I never use table sugar, don't use any other kinds of even natural sugars. I just use xylitol because there's so many benefits. Tastes great. It is a naturally occurring plant sugar that's found in lots of foods that you should eat. I was about to say you may eat. Well, not everyone eats the right foods. So, but in foods that you should eat, and it's and in fact I carry it with me around the planet when I am on my constant low orbit of planet Earth doing my lectures around the world, and I carry it in little packets with me. So if I need to sweeten something up, like I put it in my coffee in the morning, and you know, that's what I do. So there's a sweetener in it. It is sweet. It tastes great. I haven't talked to anyone yet who told me they didn't like the taste of it. GI ProBalance comes in a very convenient slim stick, is what we call it in most countries. So there's no excuse for you not to have it because it is so convenient. And I'll talk to you during the course of tonight's call. I'll talk to you about shelf life, what it is, how to use it, when to take it. There's a lot of confusion around that. And of course, what's in it. And more of the basic overview before I start the detail and the questions. This product has 6 strains of very hardy probiotic bacteria that are hugely beneficial to human health. And I'll go through just some of those benefits. In fact, for me to actually mention each one of our approved benefits claims, it would probably take me 40 minutes. I mean, there are just so many of them. So I'm not going to do all that. We're going to do kind of an overview, as I say, and answer questions that come up all the time. How do I know that? Well, Uh, I do more public speaking than anyone who works for Manatech, and I get asked questions virtually 7 days a week. So I know what kind of questions come up most of the time. Well, okay, probiotic. Well, is this anything like our old product, GI Pro? Well, yeah, it follows exactly the same concept, but it goes several steps further. So I created a product for us called GI Pro and another product called GI Zyme. I did that for us several years ago. And GI Pro, of course, is the probiotic. That's why I called it that. And then I called the enzyme product that I made GI Zyme so that people would know the difference. There are still people who are confused by that, so I'll give you more detail in a few minutes on that. But this goes way beyond GI Pro. It is a far improved product than the original GI Pro, and of course that was a great product by itself. So why do you want to use a probiotic at all? Well, I'll tell you what probiotic bacteria do in a moment, but let's talk about why you want to use them first. There are some pretty good studies out there that show us that the older we get, the more we tend to benefit from probiotic supplementation. Interesting. We also know that there are pharmaceutical drugs that kill probiotics, not just antibiotics, by the way, but there are other pharmaceutical drugs that tend to kill probiotics. Stress, the modern diet. There are so many foods in the modern diet that can adversely affect your probiotic balance. Because remember, we do not eat as our ancestors ate. The modern diet is something very unique, and it seems to be something that continues to change every year, and not always for the better, I might add, as synthetic chemists keep finding new ways to make synthetic compounds taste like food, smell like food, look like food. Well, I'm not going to go into that right now. And of course, the use of alcohol. The most of the people on planet Earth, most of the adults on planet Earth use alcohol in some measure, some too much, of course. And in fact, this is something that's been going on throughout human history, by the way. But now, alcohol consumption is far more convenient than it ever was in past centuries. So there tends to be a lot more of it. And in some countries, alcohol use is simply off the charts. The two countries that consume the most alcohol are the United Kingdom and Australia, but there are many other countries that are very close behind. And so we're not going to have a talk about alcohol this evening, just to say that it does destroy probiotic bacteria. Obviously, you do not want to wash your GI ProBalance down with a great pinotage from South Africa, because that would be counterproductive. It might be enjoyable, but it will be counterproductive, so you don't want to go there. But we do know that stress of the modern society, and folks, if you're breathing in the 21st century, you're under stress, let's face it. And your mind is designed to calculate for stress as best as it possibly can. So very often you're not even aware of how much stress you're really experiencing each day. It can be more significant than you even register, because your mind wants to protect you as much as it can. It's part of the design of the human brain, as it were, which is a different lecture that we'll do perhaps in another evening. So there are lots of reasons why you should take probiotics. Well, what are probiotics? Probiotics are, let's look at it this way, it's good bacteria. It's bacteria that your body requires for a wide range of health support. Now, I want to be clear on this for everyone, because although I don't understand why there's confusion, there apparently is confusion in all the countries of the world. The difference between a probiotic and a digestive enzyme. And there are lots of people who think that a probiotic is the same as a digestive enzyme. Well, it's not. And you have a product, a fabulous product, by the way, in inventory, which is called GI Zyme. and that is our full spectrum digestive enzyme product. Now, digestive enzymes work completely differently in almost every respect than a probiotic. Now, there is some bit of crossover in that we do know from scientific study that probiotics do help to break down food. They do help to enhance digestion and absorption of nutrients. That we know, that is science, and there's no dispute. But I want you to understand, you need, when you are digesting your food, the first stage of your digestion, or perhaps I should say the second stage. The first stage should be actually chewing your food properly, which almost no one does. I say that from my observations of people in every country and every culture all over the planet that I've been to. And that is 38 countries that I've lectured in, so that's not every country, obviously, but it's a lot. And I have never observed anyone properly chewing their food. People are just in such a big hurry to scarf that food down as quickly as they can. Such a shame. Well, that's your first stage. Your second stage of digestion then would be your enzymes. And it's a different talk that we should have on this evening leadership call to explain to people about digestive enzymes, how they work, why you need them, and so on. But that we won't do too much in this evening's call because our focus tonight is probiotics. So understand that probiotics do, in fact, help to break down your food, and they do help you to enhance your digestion and your absorption of nutrients, but that's in the third stage. That's not in the first or second stage. So it's a continuous process, and it's a very lengthy and complicated process. So all of those things are involved. With enzymes, we know that on average, the average person starts to lose about 1% efficiency in enzyme production starting at the age of 40. And it tends to get, on average, drop by about 1% per year after that. So that's an enzyme discussion that we'll have on a different evening platinum call. So back to probiotics. So then, probiotics don't replace enzymes, but they do, in fact, help you very much with the breakdown of your food for digestion and absorption of nutrients in your intestinal tract. So they're not going to help you in your stomach, but they do help you in your intestinal tract. And that's very, very important. Also, there are quite a number of scientific studies that tell us that your immune system begins actually in your gastrointestinal tract. And there are approximately 70% is the number that's given out. The majority of scientists believe that approximately 70% of your total immune function begins in your intestines as a result of having the appropriate balance. One of the reasons we call this GI ProBalance, the appropriate balance of probiotic bacteria. Approximately 70% of your total immune function. That is huge. That's your first line of defense. So you have another reason why you want your probiotic balance to be as well balanced as it can be, just for that. But there's more. You know, the interesting thing about science, and of course, you folks who know me, you know I love science. I read scientific studies for fun. People think I'm crazy, but I just love science. And science moves on so fast these days. I mean, science is moving so fast that virtually none of us can keep up with it. Even those of us who are focused on it 7 days a week, we just can't keep up with it. It's moving too fast. And the great thing about that is the new discoveries and new information and new support. And I just love this. This is wonderful for everyone. So as an example, there was a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled crossover trial. And that's a really good way, a very objective way of trying to find answers to your questions. Now, in this study, they took 15 healthy resistance-trained men. So these are men who are very well trained in resistance exercise. And what they did is they gave them only just two of the probiotics that we use, and we have 6 in our product. And they gave them just 2 of these, and they did this every day. And what they were looking for, what they were measuring, was changes in something called interleukin 6 or IL-6. Ask your doctor about that. And creatine kinase or CK, as well as looking at other indicators for recovery from exercise. In resistance training, you are actually damaging your muscles. That's how they rebuild. That's how they get bigger. You have to tear them down a little bit in resistance exercise, and the response, if you have the appropriate protein available. And apparently some indicators in this study of probiotics as well, that there are improvements. In fact, so part of this group received a placebo and part of this group received the probiotic, and just only 2 of the 6 strains that we're using. Now, the probiotic supplementation actually enhanced isometric average peak torque production. Now, if you're a resistance trainer, then you know what I'm talking about for that. At 24 to 72 hours into post-exercise recovery. And indications that it had a overall decrease in circulating IL-6 or interleukin 6. Now, if you want to know more why that's important, you ask your doctor about that. Now, our probiotic product has 6 very strong, very hardy strains of probiotics in it. Could there be indicators for our muscle health and recovery from exercise and so on? Well, according to this one study, it suggests that the answer is yes. Well, of course, as we say in science all the time, more study is required. But this is exciting information, and it's only some of the information. When you look at the list of studies out there that talk about probiotics, if you are achieving and maintaining the appropriate balance of your probiotics, what it can do for your overall digestion, the health of your gastrointestinal tract, and it appears by many scientists, they're saying a profound effect on your overall health by doing this. Wow. This is sounding more exciting, more like we should, all of us. I mean, if you're not taking your GI ProBalance yet, just listen carefully. There's a lot more important information here for you. So what do? Oh, wow, they do a whole bunch of things. And in fact, as science moves forward, we're not even sure all of the factors that probiotics may have in the body may be far more profound than we had thought of before. I'm fascinated by some of these studies out there. In fact, just yesterday I read yet another study on IL-6, and just really exciting to me, very exciting. Now, Manatech is making no claims about that. I'm simply giving you the information, the science that's out there, and just some of the science that I've been reading recently, which I find truly fascinating. Well, let's get into some of the questions. One of the things that comes up with probiotics all the time, because a lot of companies out there haven't changed their probiotic technology since probiotics started as supplements, and it's still doing the same old tired stuff. And all they do is they change their websites, they change their advertising, they change their blogs, but they're not changing their products. They're not improving. And of course, the public, the majority of people on this planet are not scientists. They can't filter through this. Even medical doctors are not trained in this particular area of science. So they have difficulty filtering through this as well. So don't blame yourself if you're having a tough time with it. And there's just a lot of misinformation. So one of the questions that I've gotten on this product since the day it was launched was, well, don't I need to refrigerate it? Well, no, the answer is no, you don't. Well, why not? You have to refrigerate this company's product and that company's product. It's because our product is a synbiotic versus simply a probiotic. What does that mean? Well, a synbiotic is when you combine a balance of probiotic bacteria with the prebiotic that the probiotic requires to survive. A probiotic bacteria is a living organism. All living organisms need to eat in order to survive. That's just the way it is. So then, what do they eat? They eat what we call prebiotics. Well, what are they? Believe it or not, the best prebiotics are glyconutrients. Yes, that's right. There are more than 200 glyconutrients, or what scientists correctly call glycans, found in nature. And there are probably more than that, but there are more than 200 that we know of at this time. And these are plant sugars, not to be confused with table sugar. Okay. I'm talking about plant sugars that are not sweet, do not raise your blood sugar, do not raise your insulin, are not bad for you. They are part of an intricate part of the health of all living organisms on planet Earth, plants and animal included. So these are plant sugars that are the food for the probiotic bacteria. If you provide the right food in the right amount in your Slim Stick, those little probiotic bacteria have a nice life eating their prebiotics until they are ready for you to consume them. Hey, we're at the top of the food chain, folks. Get a grip on it. So don't let that bother you, all right? So then, that's what goes on. And we have put, just as I did in the original product, GI Pro, where that was our first synbiotic. In fact, I made that product before the word synbiotic was invented. So nobody knew what a synbiotic was when I made that product. Again, Manatech is usually way ahead of the power curve when it comes to the science of supplementation for your health. And in that product, of course, I used something called fructooligosaccharides. Now, fructooligosaccharides are naturally occurring plant sugars, great prebiotics. Probiotics love to eat the stuff. They thrive on the stuff. And what did we do in GI ProBalance? Well, we are also using fructooligosaccharides. Now, in addition to that, inside of each of those Slim Sticks, there is ambrotose, which contains what we call AmbroGuard. Now, AmbroGuard is our registered name for the premium form of arabinogalactan. You can buy a standard form of arabinogalactan, anybody can buy it. But the premium form of arabinogalactan, which is our exclusive, no one else on the planet can get it, just us, is trademarked as AmbroGuard. That's what we call it. Now, it happens that arabinogalactan is a gourmet food. It is gourmet food for a probiotic bacterium. They just love this stuff. They tend to thrive at incredible rates and just be very healthy. So by having ambrotose with AmbroGuard inside of each Slim Stick, that really helps those probiotics not just remain healthy, but it helps them to also help you reestablish a better balance of probiotic bacteria in your gut. And balance, folks, is the key here. Now, many of you have heard in my trainings where I will use the phrase balance is wellness. And you can take that phrase and apply it in, countless areas of lectures when we're talking about human health. Balance is wellness. And that wellness in your gastrointestinal tract starts with having an appropriate balance of your probiotics. So then, we know why we use it. Now we know what they are, And yeah, a question that comes up all the time, well, people say, well, if I eat yogurt, isn't that enough? Well, in fact, probiotics are found in significant levels in yogurt and sauerkraut, believe it or not. So in the parts of the world that are not eating yogurt but are eating lots of sauerkraut, you'll find probiotics there. In fact, there are probiotics in fermented cabbage that's called kimchi or kimchi in Korea. And so there's probiotics in that. But you don't have the spectrum of probiotics. So having one probiotic is good. It's a very good thing, and I encourage it. And even two. But having six is far, far better. Why? Because the stresses on our bodies tend to increase every year. And, as we've moved from the mid 20th century into the 21st century, the stresses on human health are becoming ridiculous and seem to be getting worse all the time. So it's very, very important that we, not just at Manatech, but we as human consumers concerned about our health, that we are keeping up with the changes. And this is one of the reasons that we went from GI Pro at 3 very healthy strains to 6 very strong, hardy, healthy strains, because demands have changed, things have changed. So we're just trying to keep up with the changes and make sure that you have enough. So is eating yogurt and sauerkraut and kimchi, as the Koreans do, is that good for you? Sure, of course it is. Absolutely. And you should keep doing it. But I believe that based on our most recent science, not just Manatech's most recent science, but the most recent science out there, that we need to do more, that simply is not enough. So we also know now that we don't need to refrigerate it. In fact, that little slim stick, and I'm asked this constantly, what's the shelf life? Now, it is in our material. It explains the shelf life to you, but just so you know, to reinforce it for you, the shelf life is 1 year, and at the end of 1 year, you should still have enough probiotic in that slim stick, do a very significant level of support. Now, why did we raise the numbers from 1.2 billion CFUs? CFU means colony forming unit. So you'll find that probiotics are always measured in CFUs. Okay. And why did we change it from 1.2 billion in GI Pro to 1.5 billion in GI ProBalance? Well, more recent studies are indicating that the right amount, and in fact, most of the studies are now indicating that you need to have a minimum of 1 billion, that's billion with a B, CFUs, colony forming units, per day to have optimal levels of healthy microecology, as they call it, or healthy balances of probiotic bacteria. You should, at the end of 1 year, now remember that it's got a 1 year expiration date. Don't count on it going beyond that. I get people all the time that think, well, I've got some stuff that I didn't take a year ago, and can I take it now? Follow the expiration dates, folks. There's a reason for it. We do acceleration studies. They're very well done. We have pretty accurate analysis on how long a product can last. And of course, shelf life is dependent on, quote, average room conditions. So if it is exceptionally hot, and if it's exceptionally humid for some products, that won't be the case with this because it's well sealed. But if it's exceptionally hot, there may be a change in that level. Now, exceptionally means exceptionally. All right, so we're looking at well over normal human tolerance levels. But still, that can affect the lifespan of these organisms. Still, you should have approximately 1 billion left at the end of a year, because some of them will expire. The living organisms expire. I mean, all of us do, unfortunately. I wish I had an answer for that one, but we don't. But I want you to understand this. One bacterium becomes 72 million bacteria in 24 hours. So if you've started with 1 billion times 72 million, you're going to give your calculator a nervous breakdown calculating the zeros here. So just understand that there is, we've done this on purpose to make sure that there is at least the minimum level to have a healthy balance of probiotics in your gut, even as you get towards the end of your shelf life, okay? Now, I find this very interesting. I get very often they'll read something on the internet, not quite understand what they've read, or perhaps they read something which is not accurate, or maybe someone who tells someone who tells someone who tells someone who read it on the internet or heard it from a friend who read it on the internet. You understand where I'm going with this. They end up with information that simply is no longer accurate. So one of the questions that I get all the time is, when should I take my GI ProBalance? Well, that's a good question. And the fact is the overwhelming majority of Manitech associates that I talk to, they will respond immediately, well, before bed. Well, it's not quite that simple. In fact, the studies on probiotics show us that different people should take it at different times. I'll bet you didn't know that. For instance, if you are a night owl, you're the type of person who you just thrive at night. You don't wake up well in the morning. You wake up slow. You hate getting up in the morning. Or perhaps you have insomnia, etc. For those individuals, it would appear that it's best for them to take their probiotics before bed. However, other studies tell us that if you are naturally an early riser, that you should probably take your probiotics first thing in the morning. Why? Our circadian rhythms are different for different people, but there are also other issues involved in that. I mean, there truly are people who are night owls. We're not just talking party animals here. We're talking about people who truly do function better and more naturally at night than they do in the morning. This is a scientific fact. And they are different for a lot of reasons. And what the indicators are is that the early riser should take it early in the morning, and the night owl should take it before bed. Now, that is unless, of course, you are consuming alcohol at the time, because you will kill the bacteria with the alcohol. All right, so be sure of what you're doing there. And also interesting, there are some studies that indicate that people who have minor digestive issues, bloating, gas, sometimes diarrhea, that they typically do better if they are taking their GI ProBalance with their food. Yep, that's right. Now, more study is needed, of course, but these are indicators that have been observed by a number of doctors and scientists. These are, Manitech doesn't say those specifics to you, and we are unlikely to ever say those specifics to you, but I'm just imparting that knowledge to you because you may fit in one of those groups. By the way, there's also some information that indicates that individuals who have liver problems, and I won't name anything specifically, so let me say it this way: if your liver is less than healthy, then you may benefit from probiotics at night versus morning or even with meals. Now, again, this is not a Manitech claim. These are observations from various different studies that have been done thus far. Now, another question that comes up all the time is, well, what about stomach acid? I read on this website or that website that, stomach acid will kill your probiotics. Well, in fact, stomach acid can kill some probiotic bacteria. There's no question about that. Absolutely no question. One of the reasons that we selected the products that we did select is specifically for that reason. So all probiotics are not the same. There are many strains of probiotics. And we deliberately selected strains that are very hardy and very resistant to stomach acid, because obviously if it can't make it through your stomach into your intestines, then what's the point? So we made sure of that. Now, one of the probiotics that we added, which is called Lactobacillus plantarum, now that one has been shown to work far more effectively and efficiently when combined with arabinogalactan. And remember, we have the premium form of arabinogalactan called AmbroGuard in Ambrotose, and of course in this product, GI ProBalance, as well. So that's super important. We did that on purpose because a study showed that arabinogalactan really enhanced Lactobacillus plantarum, and we thought, wow, we need to go for that. That sounds super important, so we did that. And of course, you have other forms of probiotic that we know is very, very important. 3 of them in the lactobacillus form, and 2 in the bifidobacterium, and 1 in the streptococcus form. Now, that don't freak out and think that's something related to something that's bad for your health. This biology is super complicated, folks. So this is a good thing. We wouldn't put a bad thing in any of our products. So not to worry, don't distress. That's actually doing you a lot of good, and it doesn't work anything like what you've heard that word used in conjunction with before. So not to worry. Okay. So then this synbiotic is enhanced even further because of the fructooligosaccharide that's in there, that food for the probiotic, to help it really be much more enhanced than it would otherwise, because you can't be certain if you take other probiotic products which are not synbiotic products, you cannot be sure. There's no way to know if there will be sufficient food for the probiotic once it gets into your gastrointestinal tract. You just have no way of knowing it. And understand that many products, and perhaps most, but I will say many products which are being sold, have no scientific testing on their own products. So they make claims based on research studies that they found in hopes that what they're giving you actually will work in some fashion as they do in the studies. So at Manatech, of course, we are sort of fanatical about science. I mean, I sure am. And we have tremendous scientific minds at Manatech, and of course with our Global Scientific Advisory Board. Just the mind power is boggling. It's mind-boggling to try and put all that power together in one place. It's quite astounding, really. So we have we feel that our science behind this product is so powerful that we know that we are giving you the best possible probiotic product and prebiotic product, in other words, a synbiotic product that you can possibly get. So just to recap for you on this very quickly, because I've given you a lot of information, and learning psychologists tell us that it's very important to recap complicated talks to make sure everyone has them reinforced. So I'm going to do that for you right now. So GI ProBalance is designed to provide probiotic bacteria, provide you with 6 different strains, which are very hardy, that survive stomach acid very well. The primary sweetener in this is xylitol, which is hugely healthy for you. In fact, there are even studies that show xylitol helps to reduce tooth decay. Now, that Manatech is not making that claim. I'm simply saying to you that that's one of the things we know about that plant form, plant polysaccharide. It's one of the few that's sweet, and it is low glycemic. It does not raise blood sugar or insulin. So you've got this delicious way and convenient way to take in your probiotic and your prebiotic together with Ambritose, very quickly, conveniently in the Slim Stick, very well preserved with a little bit of vitamin C in there as well. Remember, the AmbroGuard is in there. That's our premium form arabinogalactan, which is exclusive to Manitech. We know why we have to take them, because we live in the 21st century. Because as we age, we need them more. The modern diet affects our probiotic balance. Pharmaceuticals can adversely affect our probiotic balance. And of course, the consumption of alcohol also can affect our probiotic balance. So with this in mind, we know the why. We now know the what. We know that yogurt and sauerkraut and kimchi are not enough, not in today's world. We know that there are other studies out there indicating other potential benefits. As I mentioned in the double-blind study on resistance-trained athletes and their recovery from exercise and the decrease in circulating IL-6, that's huge. If you're a doctor or a scientist, that should be very meaningful to you and very important. So you don't need to refrigerate it. Your shelf life is about 1 year, and that is under normal storage conditions, as they say. And don't worry about cold. Cold is not an issue, okay? But heat sometimes can be an issue in this particular product. Don't worry about the stomach acid. We've got that one covered. And you're looking at the benefits of, yes, helping you to break down your food, to absorb it, to absorb the nutrients more efficiently. It is different from digestive enzymes. It doesn't replace digestive enzymes. If you're deficient in digestive enzymes, you need to take our GI-Zyme product, which is a different call. But that is something hopefully we'll talk about in the near future. And this contains Ambritose with AmbroGuard, as I mentioned, and you also have the support not just to your intestinal health, and that all by itself is huge. Even if it didn't help you with digestion, having a healthy gastrointestinal tract is huge. And on top of that, of course, most scientists believe that up to 70% of your total immune function actually originates there, and as a result of a proper balance of probiotic bacteria. So, immune support, overall health, as I mentioned before, one scientist said, a profound effect on your overall health. So, with all that in mind, you need to start on GI ProBalance. If you have not already, you need to start on it. Will 1 a day be enough? As I already mentioned, the optimal minimum level will be 1 billion CFUs, and you have 1.5 billion in each Slim Stick. So take 1 Slim Stick every day. And again, if you're a night owl, take it at night. If you're an early riser, take it first thing in the morning. And if you have minor gastrointestinal issues when you eat, you need to look at enzyme requirements, of course, but take your GI ProBalance with your food. And that's it for this evening's call. I hope that all of that is going to be hugely important for you and helpful for you. Remember, Ambritose is the foundation of everything as far as I'm concerned. Everyone needs to be on Ambritose, but there are other factors that you require, and I would like to say everyone should be on GI ProBalance, which, by the way, is formulated specifically to work with Ambritose.
The techniques talked about in this training are not requirements, but merely suggestions. They have worked for many, but are not a guarantee of future earnings or success. All earnings are based on the sale of Manitech products, and your earnings will be based on your individual effort, your individual skill, and the market available to you. Please always consult your active upline before trying something new.